Hey guys, so I'm going to be looking back and forth between screens here. So if you see me looking over here, it's because I have my other laptop open over here, and this is where the questions are for this video. I am also sorry for the glare from my glasses because of all the blue light on the screens. But this is related to being a deaf person, questions that certain people had, and so I am going to answer them for you. So hopefully hopefully this will give you guys a little bit of a deeper insight into how I feel about being a deaf person, how I feel like I fit in or don't fit into the deaf community, and so on and so forth. So I'm just gonna look over here to get the questions. Um, and then look back over here to record the answer, obviously. So the first question is, were you born hearing or deaf? I was born hearing, so I was not born deaf. I have had a lot of people ask me that, but I was definitely born hearing. If you were born hearing, how did you become deaf? I became deaf after having multiple ear surgeries, multiple ear infections from a very young age. I have always had ear problems. I was constantly getting ear infections, and because I was constantly getting ear infections, it was to the point where I was basically like building a pain tolerance as far as my ears go. So then, like, most of the time, if my ears were starting to hurt, like you get when you have an ear infection, it was usually like a super, super bad infection by the time I was starting to feel it because I had so much scar tissue and things like that. I had tubes put in my ears multiple times. If you hear scratching on the door, it's Tank trying to get in. So I apologize. But um, yeah, I had tubes put in my ears at least 3 times. I finally finished having ear problems after my ear doctor removed my tonsils and adenoids. And then I like no longer had all the ear infections constantly and all that. I mean, I did still have ear infections that happened, but it was not as consistent as I had before I had the adenoids and tonsils taken out. Um, so I actually, like when I was younger, I had gotten my hearing tested because I told my mom that I was having problems hearing. And she thought that I was just being selective hearing, or using selective hearing, I should say. So they basically told her that I had a little bit of a deficit, but not enough to need like hearing aids or anything like that. Now, was it last year or the year before? I don't even remember how long I've been using hearing aids now. Um, but I went and got another hearing test done and I like failed miserably. Like it was horrible. She was like, I don't even understand how you're hearing some of these sounds because it's like I failed. Like a vacuum cleaner right next to me, I can't hear. So, I failed miserably. Um, the next question is, did you attend a mainstream school or a school for the deaf? Like I said, I attended a mainstream school because when I was growing up, my mom had my hearing tested a couple times, I believe, and they told her that there was a little bit of a deficit, but not enough where I needed help to hear things. Like I didn't need hearing aids when I was younger. Um, so I definitely went to a mainstream school. I did take one special ed class. It was guided study, and that was not related to my hearing. That was because I have a learning disability in math. So the guided study was just to help me by giving me a little bit of extra study time and help from the teacher that was in the class. So I also got like extra time on my math tests because of my learning disability, and I would take all my math tests with the teacher in guided study. Um, what was your first job and what are you doing today? My first job was working in a grocery store as a produce clerk, and I went from produce clerk to stocking shelves, not a stalker, stocking shelves, and like a carry-out person who helps carry out groceries when people would come to the grocery store. And what am I doing now? I am currently working at a call center part time, which is funny because I'm deaf. Um, Working at a call center, and I have adaptive handset so that like it's really cool. I wish that I could show you guys, and I might try to, like, when my whole like private area in the office is set up, I might try to show you guys like how that looks, so then you get a better idea of how it works and how I'm able to communicate with customers over the phone. So that's what I'm doing now, and then I'm also setting up an interview to be an overnight caregiver. um, how involved are you in the deaf community? So there is a deaf community in my local area, and they do like deaf socials at a couple of the area churches. They have ASL movies, um, where they have like an ASL interpreter. They have captioned movies as well. Um, they just had a Christmas party, and I haven't gone because I'm like super scared, because I was never taught sign language. I've never learned sign language more than just like very, very basic, like finger spelling. Um, and a lot of them are completely ASL. Even though the community is welcome to attend all of their events, whether you are hearing or deaf, I'm intimidated about it. I want to go. Like, every time I see it on Facebook, I add it to, like, I say that I'm interested if I see an event, and then I never go because I'm afraid. um, what are your favorite aspects of deaf culture? So I think that one of my favorite things about the deaf culture is how tight knit the deaf community really is. They are very supportive. I am part of a couple of online groups on Facebook for deaf people, and I definitely feel that they have been more than welcoming. They understand like my intimidation, like how I feel about it, because, you know, I do wear my hearing aids, and I don't know sign language, and it's just very hard for me to communicate with people who cannot hear and don't read lips, and it's just difficult. So I like that have been so welcoming to me, and that they've kind of like welcomed me with open arms and kind of tried to teach me certain things and show me certain signs, and I just really appreciate that about them. What do you think could be done to bring deaf and hearing people closer? I definitely feel like just taking the time to understand um, that someone is deaf. They're not just ignoring you. Like, I've had so many people who, like, when I tell them that I'm deaf, they're like, "Oh, but you're not that deaf." Yes, I am. I literally have severe hearing loss. Like, I'm literally, with the clinical labels, I am deaf. Like I said, when she did the hearing test, it was either last year or the year before. Um, I like a vacuum cleaner beside me, I wouldn't be able to hear without hearing aids. So, I just kind of hate when people like they assume that if you are say you're deaf that you can't hear anything. It's like a spectrum. I've made another video talking about that. It's like a spectrum. So I just wish that more people would be more patient with those of us who are deaf or do have hearing loss, because it's kind of frustrating trying to explain something, and then sometimes you have people who have recently lost their hearing, and they are embarrassed to share with you that they are deaf, or hard of hearing, and it's just really frustrating, trying to explain, and then you have people who don't want to listen, or they listen and they think that they know better than you. Um, what do you wish hearing people understood about deaf people and the culture? I think I kind of answered that as well with the last question. Um, I hope this has brought like some light on the subject, you guys, because I know I've had people ask me certain questions about my hearing loss specifically, and why I tell people that I am deaf, even if I am not like completely 100% non hearing. Um, for the simple fact that they feel like if I say that I'm deaf, then I shouldn't say that I cannot hear um, certain things, but I can hear some things. Deaf should only be used if you can't hear anything. It's just frustrating. Like, don't tell me how my life is. Um, so, anyways, like I said, I hope you guys found this video interesting. Hopefully, you guys learned a little bit more about me. And I am more than happy to answer any further questions you have regarding my hearing loss, um, how I perceive the deaf community, how I perceive certain things working as a deaf person, working at a call center as a deaf person. That's definitely interesting. My coworkers thought I was joking when I started, but then I'm very serious. Like I couldn't hear certain things. Um, so yeah. Anyways, like I said, if I'm able to, I will try to get a little video clip of the phone system if I can. I cannot promise that though, because it's a little hard. And it won't happen until I have my own private office space set up. So we'll see about that. So stay tuned for that. If there's anything else you want me to talk about, leave it in the comments, and I will talk to you in my next video.